Tuesday morning. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. Some big movements here this morning, and kind of a fun day, right? We're getting some of the uncertainty of the markets out of the way. Of course, we'll get you the market watch, stocks we're paying attention to, as well as the local and some national stories that you need to know. Here on this Tuesday. Don't forget, short week this week. We're here today at 7 a.m. live on YouTube, and of course, on demand on YouTube and over on Rumble. And then, well, we'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. Then we're off Thursday and Friday. Markets closed on Friday this week for the July 4th holiday. And then, of course, we'll return after the holiday on a Monday as well. And with all that being said, let's get into the Market Watch. And I'm looking at it for the first time with you here, folks. And everything seems to be positive. Well, except Bitcoin out there. The Dow Jones right now up the 126 points, 52,282. The S&P 500's up 34 points to 74,67 for the S&P 500. Nasdaq's up 179 points. It's at 25,999. And then you've got the Russell 2K, that small cap index, 7 points up right now, 3,013 for the small cap index. Small cap stocks have enjoyed the best first half of the year in 35 years, by the way. Small caps having a great year on the stock market. Magnificent 7 stocks, by the way, as we're coming up obviously on the halfway point of the year. Magnificent 7 value stocks values have shrunk by $2.3 trillion in the first half of the year also. AI spending questions with those stocks out there. As well, chip makers obviously giving a lot of success here. Last day of the trading month. Usually last day of the trading month means stocks are down. We'll have to pay attention to this because people are selling off the stock for tax reasons and settling up portfolios, etc. Today, so far, we're starting out positive as we're looking at the midway point of the year. Tomorrow, of course, we come in. It'll be July 1st out there. The Dow, even, it's up that 119 points right now. It is headed for its best first half in 5 years as well. Nasdaq set for the best quarter since 2020. So we're looking at some big numbers here on the stock market, as you see. But then there's Bitcoin, right? The cryptocurrencies. Down another 1,300 points today, but going down to 58,889 for Bitcoin here. And it seems to have found a home underneath the 60,000 level here at the end of last week and here in the beginning of this week on the short week as well. So July 1st is tomorrow. Last day we'll see. There might be a sell-off as the day goes on. As I said, usually see that on the last day of the month, strictly because of portfolio balancing, tax reasons, etc., for those institutional investors out there. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, the big one on the market that everybody's talking about, company called Environment is what this company's called. I struggle with this name, folks, right? But 19.78% up right now for them. They make drones, if you don't know what they do. They reported an earnings and revenue beat. They earned $1.84 per share on revenue of $642 million. Analysts were expecting a profit of $1.46 per share, so they beat that soundly. They expected revenue of $559 million, and they beat that soundly with that $642 million. AeroVironment is all the rage on the market this morning. Everybody's talking about it on all the business sites, up 20.67% right now as well. Then there's a real estate investment trust called Digital Realty Trust out there. Well, they're down 5.19% today. Well, they agreed to purchase a stake in 3 fully leased data centers from the company Blackstone. Well, they're doing this at a price tag of $7.8 billion as well. They're buying buying the stake there in those leased data centers, Blackstone. Price tag is 7.8 seems to be what people are kind of balking at here. So this Digital Realty Trust is down 5.03% right now. And then we're going to look at some crypto stuff. You saw Bitcoin 58,000. Strategy is what we're going to look at. This is a crypto property stock. As I check over my words, I apologize. 8.33% down for a strategy right now. Now, interesting enough, big number down today, right? Well, yesterday, they ended up being up 22.6% yesterday, which yesterday snapped an 8-day losing streak for the company strategy. Now, right, big up yesterday, 22.6%, down back down again today, 8.39%. Yesterday was the stock's best 1-day gain since February 6th. Back then, it soared 49.6%, but down today 8.50% after the big up yesterday for a strategy. Later on, when we come back and look at stocks, we're going to look at a Merck, AbbVie. We're going to look at those two companies. They're kind of combined here, and there's a report out there by Reuters that might be a little concerning. So we'll look at those two stocks, and then Cellus Life Sciences is the next company we're going to look at as well going into this, as they are all making big waves here on the market. We'll have to see if they're positive or negative coming up, of course. But first, right, we know uh, they're still negotiating the Iran U.S. deal over there in Qatar. Well, some mixed messages coming out overnight on those negotiations, but it is still going positive from what we understand here this morning. Oil back down today, ticked up a little bit yesterday in the morning, came back down afterwards. So let's focus on those oil prices out there, because President Trump yesterday, he came out and I would say, some would say, he urged gas station owners nationwide to lower prices. He flat out, I don't know if it was urging or if he was warning these retailers that they could face consequences if they failed to lower their gas prices. Yeah, the president's comments come as gasoline prices remain elevated following the recent volatility in the global oil markets, of course, there in the Middle East. Trump is arguing yesterday that retailers should be passing lower crude oil costs on to consumers, right? It was $100 a barrel during this crisis, during the war over there in Iran, down to $70 a barrel. And now gas prices are dropping. He's arguing they should be dropping quicker as well. Well, in this tirade yesterday, President Trump also he expressed his criticism again for California's gasoline tax policies. He actually said that the taxes of California are going to be more than the price of gas, causing that to be higher, of course, out there. And he said, "We're not going to stand for that." I don't know what that means, right? What he can do about that. But Trump's demand here on the nationwide oil companies, it comes nearly a week after he ordered the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate alleged fuel price gouging by the energy companies. They'll keep the you know numbers higher to recoup some of those losses that they had when oil prices were going up. Now gas prices are going down. If you've filled up lately or driven by a gas station, you've seen them here in Phoenix or wherever you are. For those of you in Illinois watching us, Texas, Nevada, California, we see you out there. But the AAA national average for regular gas, it was $3.86 per gallon. As of now, these are as of yesterday, down from $4.39 a month earlier, but obviously still higher than last year. The average last year was $3.18 per gallon last year as well. And I looked it up this morning right before showtime, so it's as accurate, but about 10 minutes out. West Texas Intermediate is trading about $70 per barrel right now here this morning as well. So, right, we're actually, the barrels are right about where they were pre-lower levels, or just a little bit about to go lower than that. And so we're not down to that pre-war gas pricing of the 318, kind of what the president's declaring out there. So he's trying to get that energy price down quickly as possible, right? Midterm elections coming up, and you need to get these this inflation, and you need to get these energy prices down to kind of help his side there, right, in the midterm elections coming up as well. And then President Trump was busy yesterday. He also declared an emergency. Well, this time protecting the U.S. food supply and temporarily suspending import duties on certain Moroccan fertilizer products. We know that fertilizers has become scarce with the war in Iran. A lot of fertilizers come through that Strait of Hormuz. Well, now the presidential emergency declaration by Trump, phosphates fertilizer imported from Morocco will no longer face tariffs for up to 8 months, or even sooner if the emergency declaration is actually terminated. The tariff suspension, well, that's a big deal. It's considered a short term measure, though, as the administration works with the American companies to expand domestic fertilizer production and even reduce the nation's reliance on foreign suppliers. Right? We just learned we have a huge influence on fertilizers over there in the Middle East. Wants the American companies to make their own fertilizer out there. So Moroccan fertilizer, trying to get that into the market with zero tariffs to drive those fertilizer prices down as well. Now, this is an industry that I still can't believe it's still in business and everything, or at least making numbers and selling things. But I know there's still smokers out there, right? A company called British American Tobacco, it's planning to cut about 20% of its workforce. It's moving forward with using artificial intelligence to reshape its operations, obviously, of the goal to lower their costs, boost their profits in an industry that's just struggling out there. If you don't know this British American company, a tobacco company, they call it BAT for short. They make Lucky Strikes and Dunhill cigarettes. They came out yesterday and said they're planning to cut that 5,500 jobs, outsource about 3,500 roles to third party companies. Companies like Accenture will be getting some of those jobs with them. The restructuring is going to impact about 9,000 employees in total. Now, it does exclude the U.S. part of their business, however, so this is a national deal. Now, BAT didn't specify where the job specifically would be cut as its main profit driver of traditional tobacco. Well, it's facing that long term decline that you see out there. You don't see as many smokers as you used to, like when I was a kid, but also the smoking alternatives, vapes, and the other things out there, taking away from the cigarette side. Now, this company said cost cutting program is expected to deliver $793 million in annualized savings by 2028. Much of that total targeted by 2027 when they'll see those results. Now, their sales and profit growth has been slow in recent years, often missing or narrowly meeting company targets and even disappointing a lot of investors out there. That's aiming to grow its revenue between 3 and 5% per year over the medium term. And they also said that it's begun streamlining its manufacturing over the past 18 to 24 months. They had actually announced recently in the last 6 months or so a closure of a factory over in South Africa. That expects traditional tobacco products. Let me start that over. That expects traditional tobacco product sales to decline 2.5% across the industry this year. So I mean, this is a declining industry here, right? Now, due to that declining trend, the company is shifting its focus to alternatives, things like the Vuse vapes, Velo and nicotine packages. The problem with that is, in those specific brands, other than the cigarettes, well, they are really far behind the industry leader and their rival, Philip Morris International. They dominate the vapes and those pouch categories on their side. So they're struggling to compete in those areas. And I just was surprised by this story, right? I just assumed cigarette was a bad business to be in, and they're all trying to get out of it or move over to vapes. So it is trending down as well. And so, an interesting thing's happening. We're seeing it more and more. Like when you go to stadiums now here in Arizona, I'm not sure if it's gone all over the country yet, right? You've got quiet rooms around the stadium. So if it gets too much for you, you go into these quiet rooms and get out of the sensory overload you can get. Now retailers are going toward that trend as well. I found out today Walmart's already doing it. Target's played around with it as well, but now Sephora, they're the latest retailer to offer the neurodivergent customers things that they call quiet hours. It's basically a low key shopping experience that limits the sensory triggers, music, etc., within its stores, lighting. The move from Sephora follows similar initiatives, like I said, from Walmart, Target. I even saw something that Chuck E. Cheese has tried to do this. Not daily, they have quiet hours events, which, if you've ever been in a Chuck E. Cheese, that place is loud, very flashy. So, Sephora's quiet hours, if you're interested in them, but are you going to see more of a trend with this? I do believe so. Now, Sephora, I'm not even triggered by that stuff, and just these stores are so loud and bright. I might have to hit up one of these quiet hours next time I'm in Sephora, right? Sephora announced earlier this month that at specified times, all its stores will lower their music volume, adjust in-store screens, even minimize strong scents to foster a calmer atmosphere with fewer distractions. They put this all out in a company news release yesterday. Sephora did not specify which times quiet hours would be implemented, but we do know they did an initial pilot program of 32 of their locations in 8 markets. It was developed alongside the disability advocacy organization Open Inclusion and business consultancy firm. It's called Purposeful Futures, is that company they worked with. So they didn't just do it on their own. They worked with an agency that kind of, specializes and knows about these effects. Now, Sephora's global chief marketing officer described Track Quiet Hours as a meaningful step in its ongoing commitment to developing business strategies that meet the customer's needs. Now, if you don't know what neurodivergence is, it's a big term that covers a lot of things, kind of an umbrella term. It encompasses the diverse makeup of neural processing, and that manifests differently in everyone out there. Um, Now, it's not an official medical term; it's just kind of like I said, an umbrella there. But could be anything from autism spectrum disorder to everything else. So loud noises, bright lights affects some people in different ways. Like I said, here's my thing for Sephora, and I'm not at all making fun about quiet hours or anything. Just tone down your stores. Period. You ever been in a Bath and Body Works or Sephora? Phew, I'll never forget the time at Bath and Body Works where I got weak kneed with the smells in there and almost took me down. And why don't we just knock it off in general and just go to quiet hours generally for us? I know, old man yelling at cloud. I'd learned this with this story as well. Walmart's actually been doing it for a while. It's the first major retailer to implement sensory sensitivity shopping in all of its stores across the U.S. So some big chains are doing it. Some are trying it. So it is still a fairly new thing and not widely disseminated as of yet. But Walmart started this off with a couple of hours on Saturdays with the quiet hours, but now it's gone into a 2 hour daily occurrence in Walmart stores from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. During that time, Walmart turns off its overhead music, dims the lighting where possible, and turns all of its TVs to static images so it's not overwhelming. Target, well, they've been doing quiet hours as well. They dim their lights, turn off their music, limit the number of announcements they proclaim over the loudspeakers. Target does offer sensory friendly carts equipped with safety harnesses and support for children with those sensory sensitivities. Also, there for Target. So it is out there, not prevalent. And like I said, I would just argue, for the love of God, tone down your stores anyway. 'Cause they're loud and they're bright. They don't need to be. Interesting enough, talking of Target. Um, Remember when I gotta figure out how to phrase this to where it would kind of make sense there as well. But remember before pandemic when you were expected to show up to work on time, and if you didn't, they just got rid of you. And then pandemic happened, and everybody had an excuse to show up late or, not show up at all and stuff like that. Well, those post-pandemic days of coffee badging, logging in from the couch, well, it's even more coming to an end. We know a lot of companies right now went hybrid at first. A lot of big companies are making people go back into the offices. But we also know more employers have been rolling out different ways to keep tabs on workers' whereabouts and showing up in general. And Target's getting involved with this as well right now. They're doubling down on its attendance policy. They had to do what we had in elementary school, folks, a point system. And if you misbehave enough and get enough points, well, instead of going to timeout like you did in elementary school, you just get fired from Target. Starting this September, Target had to implement a point system, folks. They'll begin tracking the unexcused tardiness of absences at its stores and warehouse workers with this new point system. Staffers' attendance violations will be tallied up and addressed accordingly. A quarter of a point for being more than 8 minutes late to work, 1 point for missing a shift without the manager's approval, 3 points for skipping on work without telling their boss. Now, the point system, they expire. Now, the attendance strikes expire every 365 days. The higher the number of the climbs, the more serious the consequences become, folks. Why don't we just go green light, yellow light, red light, and just flip the card around while we're at it? Once you rack up 3 points, you'll have to check in with their supervisor. After 5 points, well, counseling is going to have to be happened with you as well. And then if employees hit the threshold of the 12 points, yeah, that's when you get told not to come back to Target as an employee anymore. That means you can miss work for 12 days, a point a day, before they get rid of you. Seriously. Target's attendance system, comes as the new CEO is in place, and he looks to improve store operations and create a better experience for shoppers. Yeah. He said to Fortune here recently that Target is focused on returning to growth and elevating our guest experience is the key strategic priority. Sorry, folks, I'm struggling with words today. We'll continue to focus on enabling our team to deliver the delightful experience the guests depend on every day to have their employees show up. You can miss 12 days of work in a year to get to your 12 points. Wow. Target's a $63 billion company, and they're treating you like you're in elementary school if you don't show up. Employing more than 400,000 workers. Like I said, they're not the only American retailer who's been rolling out, different strategies to make sure employees are on time. Walmart, Amazon, introduced a point-based attendance policy to its employees. It's just one of the ways companies are tightening the grip on employee tardiness. Get your points. Go into timeout. Turn your card to yellow. Seriously, what's this world coming to? When we come back here on McCollum on Business, we keep it rolling. Don't forget, live on YouTube, TME Media AZ. Talk a little bit about that when we come back, as always. And, of course, get you some local stories that you need to know and coming up. And more importantly, Portillo's fans, they're a Chicago eatery, but out here in Phoenix. Making a limited time sandwich here that I'm going to have a hard time saying it, so we're going to do our best. You want to stay until the end, one, to watch me struggle over this giant word that I've never been able to pronounce. New sandwich for Portillo. Stay with us. Come on back. Call them on business. Back here, McCollum on Business, having some fun. And hey, if you're not back from that break on time, you get half a point. Unbelievable. Hey, appreciate you joining us here. 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, as long as markets are open. Except for this week, Fridays the markets are off, but we're going to take Thursday off as well this week. So we're here 7 a.m. on YouTube. live as well. Come and join us, TME Media AZ. Share us with your friends. Tomorrow we'll be here at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Then the whole studio is going dark for Thursday, Friday, and of course for the July 4th weekend as well. We'll be back on Monday the 6th as well after tomorrow. So come and join us. Of course, everything is live. All our live programming, I should say, is live on YouTube. So this show and then the main event from 8 to 10 live here on YouTube, TME Media AZ. And then as soon as we're done with the live portions, everything is posted on demand on the YouTube page, TME Media AZ, as well as over on Rumble, rumble.com/user/slash TME Media. Rumble has a program that is exclusive to Rumble over there and the free podcast systems, and that's The Real Matrix. All the episodes are up there. Last week's episode was about Charlie Kirk. It was the end of that Charlie Kirk saga that they were putting together there, the Angry Patriot. That is up over on Rumble on demand and on the free podcasting system. Now, just make a note, the Real Matrix is off this week on this Friday due to the holiday. We'll be back next Friday again as normal with a new series and talking about new things other than Charlie Kirk as well coming up. So just make a note that is off this week. Of course, follow us at TME Media AZ where we put up the show times, when shows are off, etc. It tells you what we do around here, other than the live shows and the on-demand shows like the pit stop, which does come your way tomorrow as well. We have it up by 2 o'clock on Wednesdays most weeks. Usually it's earlier than that. We just tell you 2 o'clock is kind of the point. It definitely will be there for you. You can find the pit stop, all of our programming on demand over on Rumble, including the Real Matrix. Everything but the Real Matrix is on YouTube there at TME Media AZ, and follow us live there as well. All the shows except for this one right now, and of course the Real Matrix, have social media accounts. Just search the show names; it comes up for you. Everything has free podcast systems except for this show as well out there. Just search the names in your favorite podcast system and listen to the audio versions of the show. Share us with your friends, like and subscribe to pages. We'd appreciate it very much. With that being said, let's get into it with that market watch. As I told you earlier, the Dow is headed towards its best first half in 5 years. Nasdaq's doing its best quarter since 2020 as well. Last day of the month, halfway through the year in terms of the calendar out there. Small cap stocks are enjoying their best first half in 35 years. So overall, it's a good stock market here. I know it's been ups and downs and things to that effect as well. Oil prices are having a steep monthly drop here, down to $70 a barrel, dripping below 70 here earlier today. We'll have to see as the day goes on. So a really nice first half of the year. I know there are big, huge ups and downs. I get it. But overall, when you look at the macro, the first part of the year here, overall a success around the stock market. Dow Jones right now, 131 points up. The S&P 500 is up to 40 points right now as well. Nasdaq's up 242 points right now. Tech and chip stocks are what are kind of leading those up here today as well. Russell 2K is up 15 points right now for that small cap index. Now, usually at the last day of the month, we have a big sell-off. We'll have to see as it goes throughout the day, and it's just simply the big, huge companies that own billions of dollars in stocks sell off some stocks for tax reasons, balancing some of their books, etc. We haven't seen it yet here today on the 30th. Of course, tomorrow being the first month of July and the second half of the year. We'll have to keep our eyes on the stock market today as well as we keep moving forward. Stocks were banked. Oh, and then Bitcoin, I should mention that. I kind of glossed over it. 58,950 for Bitcoin here today as well. It's found that home under 60,000. And then let's look at some stocks here. Merck is the first stock we're looking at here in this top part of the show. 1.39% down for them. Reuters reported that a U.S. House committee began a probe into whether Merck and a company called AbbVie, which let's look at the AbbVie stock as well. They're down 0.95% right now. So Merck and AbbVie, the U.S. House committee, they're looking into whether these two drug makers were involved in trials that took place in China that aided the country's military capabilities, meaning China's military capabilities. Both of these companies are supposedly, according to Reuters, being looked at by a U.S. House committee. And this probe, not good news to have the government looking into you for doing things like this. So both stocks are down here today based off of that news. And then finally today, we're going to look at a company called Celis Life Sciences Company as well. They're down 9.06% as of right now. It was up 3% when the market opened. So big sell off on the stock here since the market has opened about an hour ago. Well, interesting enough, they actually went up 24.7% yesterday on the stock market. So people are taking their money out after that big uphill run for them. They rallied Monday after the Celis Life Sciences last week disclosed a change to its employment agreements with several C-suite executives within their company. So the changes pertain to severance benefits. They made it to where these corporate level people aren't getting as big severance packages within their company. This could be a routine update, or what people are kind of speculating, it could be an indication that a takeover is coming for this company. You don't change wording and things in executives' contracts unless you want them to be more favorable for a takeover attempt here or a merge coming up here for another company coming in and buying a company. That's the speculation. They say it could be routine, but the speculation a lot of people jumped on yesterday with that big increase was they're changing this because they're going to be taken over or bought out or something to that effect. So that's why that is down 9 points today after yesterday's big market day there for that company. Now let's talk about Grogsberg Gruppen. Yeah, they're going to provide. It's a big company here, and they're going to provide. And we're going to go down to Tucson for this story, by the way. They're going to provide its defense system to Kuwait. It's a deal with Raytheon, which of course is a big company down there in Tucson, under the U.S. Foreign Military Sales Program. Now, the Krogsben Gruppen company is a Norwegian company, is what they did. They announced this yesterday, so they're working with Raytheon to sell some stuff to Kuwait. The contract for deliveries of the Norwegian Advanced Surface to Air Missile System is worth around $400 million for the company, it said in this statement. So these are the NASAMS, NASAMS. It's a mobile defense system developed in cooperation with Raytheon. It's going to help Kuwait protect its population and infrastructure against threats from the air. Now, like I said, Raytheon Tucson Company, big deal, right? For them, get some sales out of this as well. Last week, if you were watching the news, Kuwait faced missile and drone strikes from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps out of Iran. They said the IRGC said drones and missiles were sent in response to those U.S. strikes against Iran. So they need these missiles to help protect them out there. Now, the NASAMs have been used by 15 other countries out there. And now, like I said, partnering up, Raytheon involved in this $400 million deal there as well for Kuwait for a company out of Tucson doing that big move there. Big story out of Phoenix here. You like Waymos? You like driving in them? You like getting in them? Waymo and Uber are ending their robotaxi pilot program here in Phoenix specifically. Uh, Waymo robotaxi rides are no longer available via the Uber app out there. They've been you've been able to do the Waymo app. You've been able to go into the Uber app and order a Waymo through Uber as well. Kind of a conjunction that they have. So you can still get Waymos. Those aren't stopped being on the streets. It's just you can't order it through the Uber apps anymore. Now it's discontinued here in Phoenix as of now. Both companies confirmed it yesterday. They said, Phoenix, quote, Phoenix was our first pilot market with Waymo and was an intentionally limited deployment, reaching just over a dozen vehicles dedicated to the program. We learned a lot from that collaboration, which helped us to quickly scale Austin and Atlanta, where hundreds of Waymo AVs are currently exclusive on Uber as our coverage area continues to expand. Now, this end of the robotaxi pilot program does raise questions about Uber's dominance in the future of self-driving services. I think Uber is trying everything they can to, get into this space, and they're not at the forefront. They're trying to piggyback off of other companies, and so far the strategy's very mixed results out there as well. So Uber execs have always pitched the company as the crucial platform that robotaxi players will need to rely on to get bigger demand out there. And the robotaxi companies not finding that that's true as well. So you know, that service has ended. So if you do that, it wasn't very many of them out there, so you had to wait. I remember reading earlier, like a couple weeks ago, if you did it through the Uber app, you had to wait longer because there's only a few cars dedicated to that and everything. So interesting to see how this continues to keep going. So um, now they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna keep the cars, the ones that were in the Uber app, the 12 or so that was dedicated to that, will keep being employed here in Phoenix. You just have to, they're going to be used for DoorDash deliveries specifically as well, which ironically enough competes with Uber Eats. So Google and Waymo went, all right, this is ending. We're going to take your cars and compete with you with DoorDash. I do love the pettiness of big companies out there. So no more Waymos through the Uber app here in Phoenix. And then, folks, brace yourselves because here comes a story I'm going to struggle with. Portillo's, right? Chicago eatery, but we have several of them here in the valley. Portillo's is introducing a new Chardonnara dog for America's 250th birthday. Yes, it's a limited time edition. There it is on your screen right there if you can see it. So Portillo's getting into that 250th birthday coming up this weekend. New flavor packed Frank out there. Limited time, starting today of all times. The Chardonnera dog, it's a product of the new Portillo's and Vienna beef partnership between the two companies. So this new char grilled beef dog is infused with, I know I'm going to do this. Second I can say it until I see the words. Infused with Giordana and provolone cheese. I'm going to do it, folks. I see the word spelled and I can't say it. Giving it a medium heat, rich cheesiness, smoky char finish, according to Portillo's. It can be served multiple ways, including Maxwell style, which means it's topped with yellow mustard and grilled onions as well. It can be served classic Chicago style, topped with mustard, relish, onion, tomato, celery stalk, peppers, and a pickle. So you can get it multiple ways that you want to out there. Portillo fans, well, you can otherwise order the Chardonnay dog plain or with any toppings of your choice out there as well. So, how much does this limited edition Chardonnay dog cost? Well, it depends on where you're at. The prices range between $5.49 to $5.59 at Chicago locations. I don't know how much they are here in the Valley, though. Probably have to go and check that out there as well. Now, from July 14th to the 16th, mark your calendars if you're interested in this as well. Portillo's is rewarding their perk members with a $1 hot dog for National Hot Dog Week. Keep that down as well. Now, that deal's available, but you have to buy $5 worth of stuff other places as well out there. So, the story I saw on this from USA Today, by the way, talked all about the Chicago location. So, I am assuming that it's available here in the Valley as well. But no confirmation on that. But available today. I wanted to make you aware of it. Chardonnay dog from Portillo. Mm-mm-mm. Sounds good. I'm hungry now. Let's go eat. Hey, we got the main event coming up at 8 o'clock as well. Make sure you join us here on YouTube, and we'd appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Make sure you come and join us. We'd appreciate it very much out there. Let me just check here and see what anything crazy is happening on the market. Nope, everything's just smooth as can be here on this Tuesday, last day of June. Of course, tomorrow when we come back, second half of the year officially underway, July 1st. See how the market is and get you ready for that July 4th weekend. So come and join us tomorrow here on YouTube, 7 a.m. All on business.